I held $8 in my hand, and the reasoning mind whispered, "It's not enough." But I spoke another law. I said, "You are blessed, you are multiplied, you are endless supply." And in 3 days, supply proved me right. In this message, I will show you how to stop shrinking from small money and instead bless it into multiplication. You will learn how the law of supply responds when you speak with faith, why fear blocks your harvest, and how gratitude opens every gate. You may have prayed, begged, or tried saving your way into plenty, but still found yourself in lack. Here I will reveal how to use the very thing you fear, your last dollars, as the seed of your miracle. By the end, you will know how to turn every penny into proof of God's endless supply. I know the weight of standing with little, with just a handful of bills, with a purse that feels too light. Most people in that moment curse the small and call it nothing. They say, "This isn't enough." They feed fear, and fear multiplies. But I discovered a higher law. Bless the little, and it grows. Speak over it, call it full, and watch how quickly heaven responds. When I blessed $8, lack turned to plenty, and in 3 days a check proved it true. You see, it is not the number that matters, it is the word you speak over the number. This is the secret most overlook, and this is the truth I will lay before you now. In the lesson ahead, I will take you step by step through the law that turned my last $8 into thousands. You will hear why words carry magnetic force, how blessing multiplies and cursing diminishes, and how gratitude can turn a trickle into a flood. I will share stories of men and women who proved the same law, one who turned $2 into 6,000, another who spoke over a small sum and found herself surrounded by abundance, another who released resentment and saw money rush in. Stay with me, for in the next minutes, you will not only hear these truths, you will practice them. I will have you bless the money in your own hand, speak the decree that multiplies it, and set in motion the same law that brought my check in 72 hours. Do not step away, for your own demonstration may already be forming even as you listen. Here's something most people completely miss, and it is why their money seems to slip through their fingers like water through a sieve. They curse what they want to grow. They look at a small sum, they sigh, they call it not enough, and with that one sentence, they stamp poverty upon it. I refuse to do that. I bless my money. I speak life to it. I lay my word upon it like warm sunlight on seed, because I know the law, whatever I bless, increases, and whatever I curse, decreases. So if you will stay close to me now, I'll show you how this one shift turns last dollars into first fruits, how it takes the edge off fear and puts a crown on faith, how it moves you from grasping to receiving, from shrinking to expanding, from "this won't cover it" to "my cup runs over." Why is this so important? Because money is not only arithmetic. Money is atmosphere. Money is tone. Money is the echo of the word you speak over it. If you speak failure, it droops. If you speak blessing, it rises. So when I stood with $8, I would not let my tongue betray me. I would not sign a death certificate with a reckless phrase. Instead, I placed my hand upon it and said, "You are blessed. You are multiplied. You go out in joy, and you return in increase." And those words, spoken simply, without strain, without drama, wrote a law across my affairs that heaven was happy to obey. Now, what I'm about to share might seem counterintuitive at first, because the reasoning mind believes numbers rule the day, but spirit knows words rule the numbers, and the sooner you accept that, the sooner your small money will start behaving like seed instead of scraps. So let's make it plain. The stakes are high because every time you open your purse and sigh, every time you tap a card and mumble, "I can't afford this," every time you look at a bill and groan, you are decreeing shortage, and your deep mind, faithful and literal, rushes to fulfill your order. But bless that same money, praise that same payment, thank that same bill for signaling circulation, and you call in companions for it like birds to a fountain. This is not poetry, this is law, and I'll prove it as we go. What is the solution then? Speak blessing as habit. Let your first words be praise, let your last words be thanks, and let the space between be filled with simple decrees a child could memorize. Try this today. Only good goes out of me. Only good returns to me. My money is God in action. It blesses all it touches and comes back to me in perfect ways. Say it softly at the counter. Say it over your wallet. Say it while you fold a single bill as if it were silk. And watch how quickly your atmosphere changes. Because the subconscious doesn't argue. It records tone and rhythm and obedience. And when your tone is blessing, your affairs hurry to harmonize. How do you start when fear is loud and pockets are thin? You start with the little in your hand. You refuse the hiss of not enough. You speak the opposite law, and you act like one who expects return. I remember a woman with only $2, and I told her, "We will bless this. We will call it a magic purse that can never be depleted. As money goes out, money comes in, crammed, jammed, pressed down, and running over." And she caught the spirit of it. She gave with joy, and in short order, a gift far beyond her expectation arrived. Now ask yourself, was it luck or law? I answer, it was the exact, unfailing response of circulation to blessing. For blessing opens the gate and cursing shuts it. Blessing widens the channel and cursing pinches it closed. Blessing is faith spoken, and faith always multiplies. Perhaps you're thinking, but Florence, won't I be foolish to bless small money when my needs are large? I smile, because that objection is the old serpent of pride in a new coat. Blessing is never foolish, it is foundational. The farmer who laughs at small seed will starve next season. The wise man praises the packet before he praises the harvest, because he knows increase begins invisible. So when you hold a 10, bless it. When you pay a bill, bless it. When you tip a waiter, bless it. When you send a transfer, bless it, and do it aloud if you can. Your voice stamps the impression deep, your breath carries the decree, your tone tells your deep mind, this is safe, this is joy, this is plenty, and the deep mind, eager to please, begins arranging your affairs to match. Let me give you a small pattern interrupt right now. Take a breath and whisper with me. I bless the money in my hand. I bless the money on the way. I bless the money I cannot yet see. All of it returns to me multiplied under grace. Feel how your shoulders drop, how your chest opens, how the hard grip of fear loosens. That feeling is your sign you've stepped out of cursing into blessing, out of contraction into circulation, and when circulation starts, supply soon follows. So here is how we'll move from this moment. We'll keep the story of $2 blooming into thousands before our eyes, as proof that a blessed seed outgrows its number. Then we'll walk straight into my own $8 testimony to show you exactly how a last bill becomes a first harvest, because if a handful can multiply with blessing, what happens when your very last dollars are treated as sacred seed? Stay with me. The answer is closer than you think, and the check may already be on its way. This next part changed everything for me, because it was not theory, not philosophy, but a living demonstration that the law answers with precision when you dare to bless instead of curse. I remember the woman who came to me weary, worn, and fearful, with only $8 in the world. Her face bore the marks of despair, her posture sagged under the burden of not enough, and she asked, "What shall I do now?" Most would have told her to hold tightly, to save, to ration, to retreat into fear. But I knew the law, and I told her, "We shall bless the $8 and multiply it as Jesus Christ multiplied the loaves and fishes." For what he did, every man may do when he speaks the word in faith, without wavering, without compromise game, of life how tops are ocean. She looked doubtful, but I placed the decree upon her path. Infinite Spirit, open the way for great abundance. She is an irresistible magnet for all that belongs to her by divine right. I told her to speak it continually, to repeat it until her tongue carried no fear, only faith. Now here is what happened. She confessed she had a hunch to go home, though home was a distant city, and her reasoning mind shouted, "Stay here, find work, don't move in the wrong direction." But I said to her, "Never violate a hunch, for intuition is the voice of God." And she obeyed. With her last coins, she went home, and through the simple act of following that inner guide, she connected with an old friend of her family. Through that contact, thousands of dollars flowed to her in ways she could not have orchestrated, and her story became a testimony she repeated for years. Tell people about the woman who came to you with $8 and a hunch. That woman proved the law, and her miracle was not mine, it was hers, because she dared to bless instead of curse. Game of life how tops are ocean. Do you see the pattern? When last money feels like death, it is in truth seed. Fear says, "This is the end." Faith says, "This is the beginning." What is the difference? Words. Fear speaks curses. It's not enough. It will not last. Faith speaks blessing. You are blessed, you are multiplied, you are endless supply. And the subconscious? like obedient soil, receives the seed of blessing and multiplies it back into form. When I spoke over $8, lack turned into a check within 72 hours. When she blessed $8, thousands followed her home. This is not superstition, nor is it chance, it is law, as certain as seed time and harvest, as sure as give, and it shall be given unto you. Now perhaps you are asking yourself, but Florence, what if I bless the little and nothing happens? What if my decree is too small against the weight of my debts? Let me answer you firmly. The decree is never small, the word is never weak, unless you weaken it with doubt. The universe does not measure dollars, it measures faith. The soil does not ask how many seeds, it simply grows whatever is planted. You can plant despair, or you can plant blessing. You can speak death, or you can speak life. The law is impartial. When you bless, you invoke multiplication. When you curse, you invoke diminishment. So the true test is not in the amount of money, but in the conviction of the decree. I urge you, even now, do not wait until the purse feels heavy to bless it. Bless it when it feels light. Bless it when it frightens you. Bless it when fear says, it's not enough, because that is the very moment the soil of the subconscious is softest, ready to receive the imprint of faith. And when you bless it, prepare yourself, for the law will answer. It may not come by the path you expect, but it will come. For spirit has channels you know not of, and ways beyond the reasoning mind. If he could feed thousands with a handful of loaves, if he could open rivers and deserts, can he not multiply $8 into 1,000, or 1,000 into 10,000? Indeed, he can, and he does, when you bless the seed. So I challenge you now. Take the money in your hand, no matter how small, and speak blessing over it as if it were the first fruits of a mighty harvest. Say aloud, I bless this money, it is God in action, it is multiplied and returned to me under grace in perfect ways. Say it until your heart believes it, until your voice rings with certainty, until you can already feel the check arriving, the door opening, the friend appearing. Do not despise the day of small things, for the seed is always smaller than the harvest, and the law is always greater than appearances. And just as I told the woman with $8, I tell you, never violate a hunch. Bless your money, follow the whisper within, and watch how swiftly heaven multiplies your seed. And now, having heard the testimony of $8 multiplied into thousands, let us not stop here. For the miracle did not begin with the dollars, it began with the law that governs them. If blessing multiplies, what is the hidden principle behind that multiplication? Stay with me, for I am about to open the deeper mystery. The law of the word as seed, the law that never fails, the law that makes loaves from crumbs and checks from coins. What I am about to unfold is the great secret that lies beneath every miracle of supply, the hidden engine that turns small into great, last into first, crumbs into loaves, and pennies into checks. It is the law of multiplication, and it is as certain as the sunrise, as exact as seed time and harvest. Most people look at their affairs as if numbers ruled, as if the addition and subtraction of coins determined their fate. But I tell you the deeper truth. Words are the true mathematics of life. Words are the seeds that draw invisible substance into visible form. You are not waiting on dollars to appear. Dollars are waiting on your decree. Every word you speak is a seed cast into the fertile soil of the subconscious, and the soil makes no judgment. It simply grows what is planted. If you sow fear, fear grows. If you sow lack, lack grows. If you sow blessing, blessing grows. It is not a mystery, it is law. And once you see it, you will never again call the little in your hand not enough. The scriptures declare, by thy words thou shalt be justified, and by thy words thou shalt be condemned. That is not metaphor, it is mechanics. The word is the instrument of creation. In the beginning, God said, let there be light, and light answered. He did not wrestle, he did not strain, he did not calculate, he spoke. And because we are made in his image and likeness, our words too are creative. When I said over $8, you are blessed, you are multiplied, you are endless supply. I was not begging, I was not hoping, I was not pretending. I was commanding, I was planting, I was issuing law. And the law, impartial and unfailing, took my decree and carved it into the fabric of my affairs, delivering a check within 72 hours. That check was not magic, it was harvest. Here is what most miss. The subconscious mind does not care if you speak truth or falsehood, blessing or cursing. It accepts the tone, the rhythm, the conviction, and then obeys. That is why idle jokes and careless words so often bring about the very thing feared. A woman once joked, "I wish I lived in a trunk. I am so tired of this house." And soon enough, her life collapsed until she was forced to live in a trunk. The power of the spoken word full. Was that chance? No, it was her word shaping her affairs. If a foolish joke can manifest bondage, how much more can a conscious decree manifest freedom? If a careless curse can shrink life, how much more can a deliberate blessing expand it? The soil does not discriminate between seed. It grows thorns as readily as it grows roses. The choice is yours, and the harvest always matches the seed. This is why I call words seeds. Say them once, and the subconscious receives them. Say them rhythmically, with conviction, and the subconscious waters them. Say them with gratitude and expectancy, and the subconscious presses them into form. It is the great law of multiplication. Blessing multiplies. When Jesus took 5 loaves and 2 fishes, he lifted them, he blessed them, and then they multiplied until thousands were fed. He did not calculate if 7 items could feed 5,000. He blessed, and blessing drew increase. That is the same law that multiplies $8 into a check, $2 into 6,000, a handful of coins into rivers of supply. The act of blessing places the seed in the soil, and once the seed is in the soil, the harvest is inevitable. Now perhaps you ask, but Florence, why must the word be spoken aloud? Why not think it silently? I answer, thought alone is creative. Yes, but thought clothed in word is thought intensified, sharpened, quickened. The spoken word carries vibration. It resounds in the chambers of the subconscious. It strikes like a hammer upon the plate, engraving the decree deep where no doubt can erase it. That is why I urge you to speak aloud. Whisper if you must, but let the sound be heard. For vibration multiplies the seed, and the more forceful the impression, the quicker the harvest. Do not overlook timing. When you speak before sleep, your decree goes down into the subconscious and works through the night without interruption. The deep mind does not sleep. It takes the last words you spoke and carries them like marching orders into the invisible. That is why I spoke my decree at night and awoke to harvest by morning. The seed planted before sleep germinates swiftly, for the conscious guard has stepped aside and the soil is open wide. So here is your practice. Each night, take whatever money you have, whether it be a purse full or a single coin, and speak over it blessing. Say, "This money is blessed. It multiplies and returns to me under grace in perfect ways." Feel it expand in your hand, feel it heavy with increase, feel it draw companions from the invisible storehouse. Speak it 3 times, rhythmically, as if striking a bell, and then go to sleep rejoicing. Do not dig it up with worry in the morning. Do not stare at appearances and sigh. Rejoice, give thanks, and act as though the increase were already here. That is how you plant. That is how you water. That is how you reap. So I say to you, do not despise the small. Do not curse the little. Do not label your seed not enough. Every great harvest begins with a seed smaller than itself. Every mighty oak began as a hidden acorn. Every overflowing purse began as a single bill blessed and multiplied. The law is exact, the law is impartial, the law is unfailing. Whatever you bless increases. And now that you have seen the law beneath the miracle, let us turn to the enemies that block it, the thieves that rob the harvest if you allow them: fear, doubt, and delay. These 3 must be exposed and dissolved if you would reap without hindrance, and that is where we go next. Now we come face to face with the oldest thief in the world, the robber that crouches at every door, the shadow that has followed man since Eden. Fear. Fear is not harmless. Fear is not fleeting. Fear is not simply an uneasy feeling to be brushed aside. Fear is inverted. Faith. It is faith pointed the wrong way. Faith in evil instead of good. Faith in lack instead of supply. Faith in sickness instead of health. Faith in loss instead of gain. The same energy that, turned upward, would call in abundance, when turned downward, calls in calamity. That is why Job cried, "The thing I greatly feared has come upon me." He was not struck by fate, nor punished by God. He harvested the seed of his own fearful decrees. Fear is faith in disguise, and it is law. And whatever man fears, he draws to himself as surely as he draws breath. Fear speaks curses over money. Fear looks at $8 and says, "This will not last." Fear looks at the rent and says, I cannot pay. Fear looks at the bill and says, this will drown me. And every word of fear is a seed planted in the subconscious, and the soil does not argue, the soil does not discriminate, the soil grows whatever seed is sown. So the fearful man multiplies his own lack, just as the faithful man multiplies his own blessing. The difference is not in the money, it is in the decree. When you tremble over a bill, you are blessing it with fear, and fear hastens more bills. When you curse a purse, you are speaking multiplication in reverse, and the purse shrinks. But when you stand in faith and bless, blessing multiplies. That is why fear must be uprooted, exposed, cast out, if the harvest is to be safe. I knew a man who made a joke of it, but the law is no respecter of humor. He used to say continually, I always miss the car. And he did. Doors would slam in his face, the streetcar would pull away just as he arrived, he was always left behind. His daughter, raised under the same roof, declared the opposite, I always catch the car. And she did. The same law worked for each, impartial, exact, unfailing. One spoke fear, the other spoke faith, and each decree bore fruit in daily life. Do you see how subtle fear is? It slips into phrases, into habits of speech, into little jokes and casual remarks. Yet each careless word is a seed, and the subconscious multiplies it without delay. Fear also masquerades as caution, as common sense, as being realistic. It whispers, don't get your hopes up. It warns, better prepare for disappointment. It insists, save for a rainy day. But faith does not save for rainy days, it creates sunny days. Faith does not prepare for failure, it prepares for success. Faith does not shrink from opportunity, it steps forward boldly. Every time you lower your expectation to match fear, you curse your own field, you block your own harvest, you shut the gate on your own supply. Fear says, this is too good to last. And because you agreed, it does not last. Fear says, I can't hold on to money, and because you agreed, money flees. But if you will turn that same energy upward, if you will bless instead of curse, if you will decree instead of doubt, you will find fear dissolves like mist under the sunday. Do not argue with fear. Do not reason with it. Do not plead with it. Replace it. Substitute truth for error, blessing for cursing, faith for fear. When fear hisses, you are sick, speak aloud. I am flooded with the life of God. I am whole, I am radiant, I am strong. When fear whispers, you are broke, declare, my supply is endless, immediate, inexhaustible, and comes to me under grace, in perfect ways. When fear taunts, you are alone. Say, I walk in divine companionship, love surrounds me, joy fills me. Do not delay, do not hesitate, do not debate. Speak the opposite decree at once, and the law will obey the new seed. Here is a simple practice. When fear rises, place your hand upon your heart and say, I am not moved by appearances. I am not deceived by shadows. I see clearly the finished work of God, and I rejoice in my good now. Feel how the rhythm of that decree steadies you, how it changes the atmosphere within and without. That is not imagination, that is law moving into action. Fear cannot breathe in the presence of joy. Fear cannot exist where thanksgiving is spoken. Fear cannot multiply when blessing is decreed. And let me tell you this. Fear is loudest just before the harvest. The night is darkest before the dawn. The army of alien thoughts shouts loudest just before it is put to flight. That is why so many faint at the edge of their miracle, because fear rises up and they mistake it for failure. Do not faint, do not retreat. Rejoice all the more when fear rises, for it is proof that the harvest is near, proof that the soil is breaking, proof that the decree is about to bear fruit. Stand firm, rejoice loudly, and fear will fall silent, powerless, undone. So now you see fear for what it truly is, not a warning, but a curse, not wisdom, but inversion, not safety, but sabotage. Do not entertain it, do not nurse it, do not confess it. Replace it with truth, with blessing, with faith. Speak over your little money, speak over your body, speak over your affairs, and let fear be drowned in the river of your decrees. And as fear is cast out, we must next face its quieter twin, subtler, sneakier, no less destructive doubt, the silent thief that digs up seeds before they can sprout. Stay with me, for the next step is to unmask this thief and show you how to keep your harvest safe until it is ripe. Fear will roar and threaten, It will shake its chains and show its teeth, but at least you know when it is near. Doubt is subtler, softer, quieter, and for that reason, more dangerous, because it slips in without sound, without spectacle, and it does its work in secret. Doubt is the silent thief. It will not shout like fear, it will whisper. It will not strike like lightning, it will seep like fog. It will not come as a great enemy in armor, but as a friend who asks innocent questions. Are you sure? It says. What if it doesn't work this time? It wonders. Suppose you are wrong? It suggests. And by those whispers it weakens the decree. It digs up the seed, it loosens the roots, and before you know it, the garden of your word lies wilted. You may not even notice when doubt first enters, for it wears the mask of reason, of practicality, of balance. But the harvest knows, the law knows, the subconscious knows. Half-hearted decrees carry no force. Double-minded men reap nothing but confusion. For doubt is always subtraction, always division, always the undoing of what faith has done. Why is doubt so deadly? Because the subconscious records not only what you say, but how you say it. Not only the word, but the tone. Not only the decree, but the atmosphere. If you declare, "My supply is endless," but your voice trembles, your breath catches, your eyes dart to the empty purse, your subconscious reads the contradiction and grows confusion instead of clarity. If you bless your money in the morning but mutter in despair at noon, the soil receives two seeds, and they war against each other until neither bears fruit. This is why so many say, "I affirmed, I decreed, I blessed, but nothing happened." It is not that nothing happened, it is that doubt canceled what faith planted. Just as surely as the farmer who sows seed and then digs it up the next day will never reap a harvest, so the man who decrees in the morning and questions at night will never see his good in full bloom. Let me tell you of a woman who stood in this very test. She came to me distressed, for she was to be sued for $3,000 and had no way to pay. The day of the summons drew nearer, and every appearance said disaster. I told her, "Declare with thanksgiving. I give thanks that I have received $3,000 under grace, in perfect ways. Hold fast to this word and refuse to doubt." She obeyed, but when the day came and the money had not appeared, she wavered. Doubt whispered, "It has failed." But I reminded her, God is never too late. Stand firm, rejoice now. She did, and the very next day a cousin arrived unannounced, bringing her exactly the sum she required. Think of it, if she had surrendered to doubt, if she had said, "It is over, it is lost," the channel might have closed, and her miracle might have died in the womb. But because she held, because she rejoiced even when appearances mocked, the law answered in perfect time. The power of the spoken word fell. Do you see now? Faith speaks and rejoices as though the thing is already done. Doubt waits for proof before rejoicing, and in waiting it strangles the seed. Jesus said, "When ye pray, believe that ye receive them, and ye shall have them, not after you see them, but when you pray." Belief must come first. Thanksgiving must come first. Joy must come first, or else the harvest is delayed, diminished, or destroyed. Doubt will always tempt you to postpone joy, to say, "I will give thanks when I see it." But faith says, "I give thanks now." Gratitude is the proof of faith, and gratitude is the cure for doubt. So how do you silence the silent thief? First, repetition. Repeat your decree until it becomes the only sound your subconscious knows, until doubt has no room to whisper. Second, rejoicing. Sing, thank, clap, praise, dance if you must, for joy drowns out doubt as surely as a great river drowns out a trickle. Third, agreement. If your faith wavers, seek one who will stand with you, one who will speak the word with you, one who will not be moved by appearances. If two of you shall agree on earth as touching anything that they shall ask, it shall be done. Agreement binds the decree so tightly that doubt cannot pry it open. Perhaps you are thinking now, "But Florence, doubt feels so natural to me. How can I banish it when it returns every hour?" Let me answer plainly. You cannot stop birds from flying overhead, but you can stop them from nesting in your hair. Doubt may knock, but you need not open. Doubt may whisper, but you need not listen. Replace it at once with the opposite word, and with practice, the new habit will take root. Say aloud, "I give thanks that my good is mine now, seen or unseen. Nothing can delay it. Nothing can deny it. Nothing can take it from me. It is finished. It is done." Say it until the atmosphere clears, until peace returns, until you feel the shift inside. That is the sign doubt has fled. And remember this: doubt always comes disguised as care, as concern, as caution, but it is a thief nonetheless. It steals quietly, but it steals much. Do not let it. Guard your word as you would guard treasure, for indeed it is treasure, and the thief is always near. Hold fast, rejoice, give thanks, and your decree will bear fruit in perfect time. And now, having unmasked doubt, we must face its cousin delay. For even when fear is gone and doubt is silenced, appearances may still mock you with waiting, with silence, with seeming emptiness. Many faint at this stage, mistaking divine order for denial. But I will show you that what looks like delay is only timing misunderstood. For Infinite Spirit is never late, never absent, never forgetful, and his ways are always sure. Now let us uncover the third enemy, sly and persistent, the one that has caused more despair and more abandoned decrees than either fear or doubt. I speak of delay, not real delay, but the appearance of it, the shadow of it, the misunderstanding of divine timing. For man, ruled by clocks and calendars, grows restless when his word does not sprout overnight, grows weary when his harvest does not break the soil by morning, grows disheartened when his purse still feels light after a day of blessing. He says, "The law has failed me, my decree was wasted, heaven has not heard." But I tell you plainly, Infinite Spirit is never late. The answer is never lost, the supply is never withheld, the demonstration is never denied. What you call delay is only rearrangement. Channels being cleared, people being moved, paths being straightened, so that your good may arrive in perfect order, without harm, without loss, without sorrow added. If it seems slow, it is only because the law is aligning conditions you cannot see, preparing doors you do not yet know, setting the stage for a harvest larger than you had asked. I recall the man who came to me in great anxiety, for he needed a loan of $50,000 to save his business. The banks had refused him, the deadline was fixed, the date was at hand, and every appearance said ruin. He declared, he affirmed, he held faith, but as the day drew near, the money had not come, and he said, "It is hopeless, I must give up." I said to him, "God is never too late. Go again, and hold fast." He obeyed, though reason mocked him. The very day of the deadline, his train was delayed, and he reached the bank with only 15 minutes to spare. But in those 15 minutes, the loan was granted, the money placed in his hands, and his business saved the power of the spoken word flow. Do you see? Not early, not late, but exact, perfect, to the very minute. Had he surrendered to appearances, he would have missed his miracle. But by standing steady, by enduring the seeming delay, he proved the law in perfect time. This is always the pattern. The children of Israel stood before the Red Sea with the enemy at their backs, and the sea did not part until the last moment, but when it did, it opened a highway of deliverance. Daniel was cast into the lion's den, and the mouths of the lions were not shut until he was inside. The widow's oil did not multiply until she poured it out. In each case, the law answered in what looked like the 11th hour, but it was never late, for the 11th hour is the hour of demonstration. Man says, "It is too late," but God says, "Now is the appointed time." So how do you overcome the appearance of delay? First, you must refuse to measure God by the clock. Infinite Spirit does not run by man's calendar. He is not bound to your deadlines. He is the Lord of time, and time bends to his command. When you declare, rejoice as though the thing is already done, and release the when and how into his hands. Second, you must hold steady when appearances grow darker. The night is always blackest before the dawn, and many demonstrations are lost because men faint in the final watch. If you can rejoice in the silence, if you can sing while the purse is empty, if you can give thanks while the bill is still unpaid, then you prove your faith, and the harvest must appear. Third, you must trust the mystery of channels. God has 1,000 ways where you see none. He has weapons you know not of, paths you could not imagine, methods you could not design. The power of the spoken word flow. To demand that your good arrive by one channel, on one date, in one form, is to limit the infinite. To release it, to declare, "My good comes to me through countless channels, under grace, in perfect ways," is to free the law to bring your blessings swiftly and surely. I have seen men curse their own demonstrations by impatience. They spoke the word, they planted the seed, but when it did not sprout in a week, they dug it up, examined it, doubted it, declared it had failed. And so it failed, not because the law was unfaithful, but because they were. A farmer who sows corn in the ground does not pull it up each morning to check for roots. He waters it, he waits, he rejoices in advance, and in due season the harvest comes. Shall we be less wise in spiritual planting than in natural? Bless your seed, water it with thanksgiving, and trust the soil of the subconscious to do its work in silence. For delay is not denial, and silence is not absence. The unseen is always moving, and the word spoken in faith cannot return void. So now I say to you, cast out fear, silence doubt, and endure the appearance of delay with joy. Declare, Infinite Spirit is never too late. My good appears in perfect time, under grace, in perfect ways. Say it until your heart believes it. Say it until your mind rests in it. Say it until your body feels peace. And when the harvest comes, and it will, you will laugh at the very thought that you once called it late. And now that we have faced the three great enemies, fear, doubt, and delay, we are ready for the next ascent. For once these are mastered, the way is clear to call in supply by divine right, to speak with authority, to act with faith, to live in continuous demonstration. Stay with me. For now we step into the river itself, the law of divine supply, the endless stream that cannot run dry. Now that we have exposed and defeated the three enemies that rob so many of their harvest, fear with its roar, doubt with its whisper, and delay with its appearance, we stand free to step into the river of truth itself, the river that never runs dry, the fountain that never ceases, the stream of divine supply. Hear me well. God is your source, not man, not employer, not salary, not business, not government, not family, not friends. All these are but channels, and channels open and close, but the fountain is eternal, unfailing, inexhaustible. When you lean on channels, you lean on reeds, and reeds break. When you lean on God, you lean on the rock of ages, and the rock never moves. The mistake of the world is to think money comes from toil, from labor, from manipulation, from the favor of men. The truth is that money, opportunity, health, companionship, every good thing flows from one source only, and that source is God. As soon as you recognize this, you are free from bondage to circumstances, and your affairs begin to align with abundance. The scriptures say, "Thou shalt remember the Lord thy God, for it is he that giveth thee power to get wealth." Do you see the difference? Not the bank, not the market, not the economy, but God. The form may be a check, a job, a contract, a gift, an unexpected channel, but the source is always the same. Once you recognize God as your unfailing supply, you stop clinging to one channel, you stop fearing its loss, you stop binding the infinite to one method. When one door closes, you rejoice, because you know the source is endless and another door must open. You say, "My supply is endless, immediate, inexhaustible, and comes to me under grace in perfect ways." And the law answers, for it is bound to your recognition. I remember the story of the woman who had only $2. I told her, "We shall bless this money. We shall see it as the magic purse of spirit, which is never depleted. As money goes out, money comes in, crammed, jammed, bulging with abundance." She caught the vision, she blessed the $2, she gave without fear, and soon she received a gift of $6,000, the power of the spoken wordful. What changed? The source was the same before and after. What changed was her recognition. Before, she saw lack. After, she saw God. Before, she clung to the channel. After, she leaned on the fountain. The law never failed, she simply stepped into its current. And here is the glory. Once you anchor yourself in God as source, you will never again tremble when channels shift. Salaries may rise and fall, businesses may open and close, men may give and withhold, but your supply is untouched, for it comes from the endless fountain. It is like drawing water from a spring. One bucket may break, but the spring flows on. One vessel may crack, but the spring does not dry. Why fear the vessel when the spring is yours? So what must you do? First, withdraw your faith from channels. Stop saying, "My job is my source, my client is my source, my family is my source." Say instead, "God is my source, and channels are many." Say it until you feel the grip of fear loosen. Say it until you can release people and places without dread. Second, affirm daily the endlessness of supply. Do not wait until lack threatens. Declare in plenty as well as in little, "My supply is endless, immediate, inexhaustible." Say it aloud. Say it with rhythm. Say it until it sings in your bones. Third, act in freedom. Spend without fear, give without dread, pay without shrinking, for every outflow is circulation, and circulation is proof that the spring is still flowing. Fourth, rejoice in advance. Sing thanks before the check arrives, praise before the door opens, bless before the bill is paid. Gratitude in advance is faith in action, and faith in action is irresistible. Perhaps you are thinking, but Florence, is it not reckless to depend only on God? I answer, no, reckless is to depend on channels that can vanish. Secure is to depend on the fountain that cannot fail. Reckless is to tie your faith to a salary that can end in a moment. Secure is to tie your faith to the one who said, "Prove me now herewith, if I will not open you the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing." Reckless is to trust appearances. Secure is to trust law. So hear me again. God is your source. You may see a job, a gift, a sale, a client, a contract, but do not worship the vessel, worship the fountain. Do not fear the closing of one door. Rejoice in the opening of another. Say aloud, I do not depend on persons, places, or things. God is my supply, and my good comes to me through countless channels, under grace, in perfect ways. Say it until you believe it. Say it until fear is gone. Say it until you can laugh at appearances. For once you know your source, lack becomes impossible. And now that you see your source, we must take the next step, learning how to draw from that fountain with the wand of your word. For recognition alone is not enough. You must speak, you must command, you must decree, you must set the law in motion with the word of power. That is where we go next. Now that you know your source, now that you have torn your faith away from fragile channels and anchored it in the fountain of spirit that never runs dry, I must place in your hand the wand by which you draw from that fountain, the key that opens the storehouse, the command that heaven obeys. That wand is the spoken word. I have said it before, and I will say it again until it is etched upon your soul. Your word is your wand. With it you write decrees upon the substance of life. With it you shape the invisible into the visible. With it you call things that are not as though they were, until they are. Without the word, your faith remains unexpressed, your seed remains unplanted, your supply remains unclaimed. With the word, the law is set in motion, the hosts of heaven march forth, the invisible gathers into form, and your decree comes walking down the road to meet you. Do not mistake me, thought alone is creative, yes, but thought clothed in word is thought multiplied. Silent desire whispers, but spoken decree thunders. Silent faith nudges, but spoken faith commands. The subconscious hears your thoughts, but it trembles at your voice. For sound is vibration, and vibration engraves the decree deep where no doubt can erase it. That is why I say, speak aloud. Whisper if you must, but let the sound strike your ear, let the rhythm pulse in your chest, let the air carry the decree into the unseen. For words are not mere sounds, they are power clothed in breath, life clothed in vibration, law clothed in sound. Let me give you proof. A woman once stood on the deck of a ship that had been trapped in a dense fog. The foghorns wailed, the ship slowed, the officers fretted, and every appearance said delay. But she lifted her voice and declared, "There are no fogs in divine mind. Therefore, let the fog be lifted." I give thanks for the Sunday. Within moments, the fog parted, the sun broke through, and the ship moved forward, unhindered. The power of the spoken word fell. Was that chance? No, it was law, the spoken word, dissolving appearance. The same power that lifts fog can lift debt. The same decree that parts mist can part poverty. The same command that clears the sea can clear your path to supply. But here is what most people do wrong. They plead, they beg, they whine, they speak their decrees like beggars at the palace gate instead of kings upon the throne. Hear me. Never plead, never beg. Never whimper. Speak as one having authority. Speak as though the check were already signed. Speak as though the door were already open. Speak as though the harvest were already gathered. For in truth, it island. The law is not moved by tears, it is moved by command. Jesus never begged the storm to cease. He rebuked it. Peace, be still. He never pleaded with Lazarus to rise. He called, Lazarus, come forth. And the storm stilled, the dead walked, the law obeyed. Speak in the same spirit, and your decree will carry the same force. Now perhaps you say, but Florence, I have spoken many words and nothing happened. I answer, did you speak with conviction? Did you speak with rhythm? Did you speak as command or as suggestion? A decree is not a wish. A decree is not a hope. A decree is not an experiment. A decree is law. You must speak it as final, as absolute, as irrevocable, as a king writing an edict. When you say, my supply is endless, immediate, inexhaustible, and comes to me under grace in perfect ways, do not say it like a question. Say it like a command. Let your voice strike like a bell. Let it roll like a drumbeat. Let it march like a regiment. For rhythm impresses the subconscious, and rhythm engraves the decree deep. Here is your practice. Each day, choose your decree and speak it aloud 3 times, with rhythm, with emphasis, with joy, not as a chant of fear, but as a song of victory. Say, I am divinely provided for. My supply is endless, immediate, inexhaustible, and comes to me under grace in perfect ways. Feel the weight of the words. Feel the certainty of them. Feel the atmosphere shift as you speak. That shift is proof the law has been set in motion. Speak in the morning to set your day. Speak at night to plant your seed in the subconscious while it works in sleep. Speak whenever appearances mock you, and let your decree drown out their voice. And when appearances rise to contradict you, when the bill arrives, when the purse feels light, when the delay mocks you, do not fall silent. Speak louder. Decree again. Reaffirm your command. Say, every bill is paid, every need is met, every desire is fulfilled. I walk in abundance now. The law will bow to the louder voice, for appearances are shadows and shadows flee before light. So I say to you now, take up your wand. Stop begging, stop hoping, stop waiting. Speak, command, decree. For your word is law, and the law must obey. And having learned to speak with authority, we must next learn to act with faith, to put our decrees into motion with steps that prove we believe. For faith without action is dead, and the law responds most swiftly when word and deed march together. That is where we go next. Now we step into the realm where many stumble, for they speak the word but never walk it out. They declare abundance, yet move as though poverty were still master. They affirm health, yet prepare for sickness. They call for love, yet carry themselves in loneliness. Hear me clearly. Faith without action is dead. The decree must be planted in the soil of words, but it must be watered with the steps of action. To act as if is not play acting. It is not pretending. It is not foolish denial. It is faith in motion, faith embodied, faith made flesh. It is saying with your lips, my supply is endless, and then proving it with your hands, your feet, your choices, your very atmosphere. The subconscious listens not only to what you say, but to how you live. If your words declare one thing, but your actions contradict, the soil is confused, the seed is choked, the harvest is delayed. But when word and action march together in harmony, the decree is doubled in force, the soil is watered, the harvest rushes forth. Consider the story of the woman who longed for an apartment in New York during a time when everyone cried that such a thing was impossible. The city was tight, housing scarce, hundreds applying for every single room. Her friends pitied her, saying, "You will have to put your furniture in storage and live in a hotel." But she declared, "I am a Superman, and I will find the perfect apartment." She spoke the word, but she also acted it. She wanted to buy blankets for the unseen apartment, and reason hissed, "Do not buy them, you may never get a place, and then these blankets will mock you." But she refused to bow to appearances. She said, "I will dig my ditches by buying the blankets." She bought them, and soon enough, out of over 200 applicants, she alone was chosen for a perfect apartment. Her word planted the seed, her action watered it, and the harvest was inevitable, the power of the spoken word flow. Or, recall, the young man who longed to travel abroad. He had no money, no prospects, no plan, yet he acted his faith. He bought a trunk, a bright trunk with a red band, and he set it in his room. That trunk was his decree in action, his faith made visible. Each day he looked at it and felt himself already on the voyage. He could smell the salt air, hear the gulls, see the harbors. Soon enough, the money came, the door opened, and the trip was taken. The trunk was the shovel that dug his ditch, and the rain poured in. Had he sat idle, reasoning, doubting, waiting for proof before buying, the demonstration might never have come. His word planted, his act watered, and the law responded, the power of the spoken word flesh. Do you see now? Acting as if is not folly, it is the very proof of faith. When you pay a bill with joy instead of dread, you are acting as if your supply is endless, and supply rushes in to prove you right. When you prepare a place at your table as though guests of joy and love were coming, you are acting as if companionship is yours, and love comes knocking. When you prepare your desk for the perfect work, arrange your tools, ready yourself, you are acting as if your work is here, and work appears. The farmer digs his ditches before the rain, not after. The prophet told the kings to dig their ditches, though no cloud was in the sky, and when they obeyed, the water came without wind, without rain, without delay. But I warn you, inaction is also action. To sit idle after speaking, your word is to act out unbelief. To clutch your last dollars in fear after blessing them is to cancel your decree. To pray for health while preparing the sickbed is to confess you expect sickness. To affirm love while isolating yourself in bitterness is to prepare for loneliness. Every gesture preaches, and the subconscious believes the sermon of your acts even louder than the sermon of your lips. Therefore, let your acts match your words, let your steps echo your decrees, let your behavior align with your affirmations, and the law will rush to bring your outer world into harmony with your inner command. So, let me ask you, what step can you take today to prove your faith? Can you bless the money in your hand and then spend it joyfully, expecting its return multiplied? Can you prepare a space in your closet for the new garments you have declared? Can you buy the trunk for the voyage you have affirmed? Can you set the table for the companion you have called forth? Do not wait. Act. For every act is a shovel, and every shovel digs a ditch, and every ditch will be filled when the rain falls. So now we see, the word plants, the act waters, and the harvest is certain. But even when you have spoken rightly and acted boldly, there may still be unseen barriers within, hidden stones in the channel that slow the stream. Resentment, envy, unforgiveness. These inner poisons can choke the flow even when the decree and the action are strong. Therefore, we must turn inward next, to the work of clearing the heart, dissolving bitterness, and sweeping away hidden blockages so that the river of supply may flow freely and without hindrance. Now we must turn the light inward, for after the word has been spoken and the act has been taken, many still wonder why the stream trickles instead of floods, why the purse fills and empties in cycles, why doors open and then close again. And I tell you plainly, it is often not the law that is at fault, but the heart. For even a decree made with power and an action taken with boldness can be slowed and tangled by hidden poisons within the old grudges, the quiet resentments, the buried envies, the chains of unforgiveness. These are the stones that clog the channel, these are the weights that slow the current, these are the silent blockages that keep the supply from flowing unhindered. Man can speak abundance with his lips while cursing with his heart, and the soil of the subconscious, ever faithful, records both. Resentment hardens, envy chokes, unforgiveness binds. Until these are swept away, the river cannot run free. I once knew a woman who envied a friend who had received a beautiful gift. The envy burned silently, hidden beneath smiles, but the law is never fooled. Her own blessings dried up, her channels slowed, until she came to me in despair. I gave her this decree: what God has done for others, He now does for me, and more. She spoke it until her heart softened, until her envy turned to goodwill, until she could bless her friend's gift as joyfully as if it were her own. And then, as swiftly as lightning splits the sky, she received an exact duplicate of the gift plus another besides the power of the spoken word fluff. Envy had blocked, goodwill had opened, and the stream rushed in. Do you see? The law is exact. Envy whispers, not enough, and so your supply is pinched. Blessing declares, there is more than enough, and so your supply overflows. Resentment works the same destruction. Another woman had been wronged in an inheritance, left out of a will she thought was hers by right. She carried bitterness for years, and her health collapsed, her affairs crumbled, her joy drained away. She thought she was punishing the one who wronged her, but in truth, she was punishing herself. Resentment is a boomerang. It does not strike your enemy, it strikes you. I told her plainly, you must forgive, you must bless, you must release. At first, she resisted, clutching her grievance like a treasure. But at last she surrendered, speaking daily, I bless and forgive. I see the Christ in that person. I set them free, and in setting them free, I am free. Slowly her health returned, her face brightened, her affairs healed. The stone rolled away, the river ran again, and she lived to see joy flow where bitterness had dried the ground. I tell you now, every man and woman you resent holds something of yours in bondage. As long as you curse them, your good is tied to their hand. Release them, and your good will fly back to you as birds return to an open cage. Forgiveness is not weakness, it is strength, not loss, but gain. It is the great solvent, the chemical of love that dissolves all hardness, all bitterness, all chains. Love is the key, love is the opener, love is the law of circulation. Where love flows, supply flows. Where love halts, supply halts. So let us be practical. If resentment rises, do not nurse it, replace it. Speak at once, I forgive and I set free. I bless and I am blessed. The love of God flows through me, dissolving every blockage, clearing every channel. If envy rises, do not hide it, transform it. Speak. What God has done for others, He now does for me and more. If unforgiveness clings, do not argue, release it. Speak. I see the Christ in every person. I bless them, I forgive them, I set them free. Say these decrees until your heart softens, until your chest lightens, until joy returns. That lightness, that ease, that sudden peace is your sign that the stones have been removed, that the river is flowing again. Think of your supply as a golden river rushing down from the mountains of spirit. Resentment throws stones in its course. Envy builds dams across its path. Unforgiveness turns it to ice. Love alone melts, clears, dissolves. Love alone keeps the stream unbroken. Love alone guarantees that every decree spoken, every act taken, bears fruit without delay. So I ask you, who are you still holding in chains? Whose name still burns in your mind when you think of injustice? Who still stirs bitterness in your chest when remembered? Know this. They are holding nothing of yours but what you tied there with cords of resentment. Cut the cords with forgiveness, and your own blessings will return. Bless them and bless yourself. For love cannot be cheated, and the law cannot be mocked. What you release in love returns multiplied, and what you hold in hate shrinks until it disappears. Therefore say with me now, aloud and with conviction, I bless every person who has ever harmed me. I forgive every wrong, real or imagined. I see each one bathed in light, free, happy, prosperous, and what I wish for them, I receive multiplied in my own life. Speak it until the hardness melts. Speak it until joy rises. Speak it until you feel the stream rushing. For this is the final clearing, the last unlocking, the removal of every stone, and once the channel is open, the flow is unstoppable. And now, with the words spoken, the act taken, and the heart cleared, we are ready to witness the law in action through story upon story, testimony upon testimony, proof upon proof that these principles are not theory but fact. For what has been done for others will be done for you, and the testimonies of supply are the fuel that strengthens faith. So let us turn now to those stories, to demonstrations of divine law, so your faith may be anchored not only in my words, but in living evidence. Now that the ground has been prepared and the blockage is removed, let us walk through the garden of demonstration and gather the fruit of testimonies, for nothing strengthens faith so swiftly as hearing and seeing the law proved in the lives of others. These stories are not meant to entertain the imagination or tickle the mind. They are living blueprints, patterns of law in motion, evidence that the unseen becomes seen when the word is spoken, the act is taken, and the heart is cleared. Each testimony is a reminder that the law is impartial, unfailing, exact, and available to whosoever dares to trust it. What it has done for one, it will do for you, and more. There was a woman who came to me desperate for work. Her money was nearly gone, her spirits low, her fear rising with every day of unemployment. She had tried every channel, begged, pleaded, pushed, but no door opened. I told her, you must speak the word. Say, I have a perfect work in a perfect way. I give a perfect service for perfect pay. She repeated it, not as a formula, but as a decree. Steady, rhythmic, alive with faith. Soon she was led into a position that suited her perfectly, paid her well, and filled her life with joy. The power of the spoken word flell. She did not get the work by chance or by pleading, she called it forth by divine right. Another came to me weeping, for she was to be sued for $3,000 she could not pay. Every appearance said ruin, and fear gnawed at her heart. But I told her, declare with thanksgiving, God is my unfailing supply, and I give thanks that the $3,000 is now mine under grace in perfect ways. Hold fast. Rejoice as if it were already in hand. She obeyed, though appearances mocked her. The day of the lawsuit came and went without answer, but the very next day, a cousin appeared with exactly the sum, freely given, without strings. Her debt was dissolved in time, and her fear turned to laughter. The law had not been late, it had been exact, the power of the spoken word flow. And how often I have told the story of the woman with only $2. She feared, she fretted, she said, "This is all I have." I told her, "We will bless this money. We will see it as the magic purse of spirit, which can never be depleted. As money goes out, money comes in, crammed, jammed, bulging with abundance." She believed, she gave a portion, she blessed the rest, and soon she received $6,000 as a gift. The power of the spoken word flow. That is not luck, it is law. The soil multiplied the seed, the blessing drew its harvest, the decree opened the channel, and the river rushed in. Another woman owed rent and had no means to pay. She had prayed and begged, but nothing came. One evening she walked her dog, and the animal tugged her down a street she had not planned to take. There, on the ground, she found a roll of bills, the exact sum of the rent she owed. The power of the spoken word flow. Was that chance? No. It was law arranging circumstances, guiding steps, using even the leash of a dog to deliver her good. The channel did not matter, the source was God, and the law was faithful. A student longed for a stage career. She had no training, no connections, no visible way. But she took the affirmation, "Infinite Spirit, open the way for my great abundance. I am an irresistible magnet for all that belongs to me by divine right." She spoke it daily with conviction, and soon she was given a leading part in a successful opera, and her career was launched. What training could not open, what reason could not secure, the word unlocked with ease. The power of the spoken word fell. And I tell you this also, demonstrations are not limited to money. A man once affirmed daily, "I am divinely protected. Infinite Spirit is my shield, my fortress, my defense." One night, when danger struck all around him, he was spared, unharmed, untouched, while others fell. Protection is as much a demonstration of the law as supply, for the same source that multiplies dollars also dissolves danger. Each of these stories proves the same truth. The law is no respecter of persons. It does not choose one over another. It does not favor the lucky and forsake the rest. It responds to faith, to word, to action, to love. Whoever plants the seed will reap the harvest. Whoever blesses the small will see the increase. Whoever forgives the wrong will see the flow return. Whoever acts as if will see doors open. So take courage from these testimonies. Write your own. Keep a record of every answered prayer, every unexpected gift, every sudden help, every miracle of timing. Do not dismiss small demonstrations, for each is a link in the chain, each is proof of law in action. A coin found on the street is as much law as a check in the mail, and gratitude for the small paves the way for the large. Let each story you hear strengthen your voice until you too can say, "I blessed, I decreed, I acted, I forgave, and the law answered me." And now, having walked through the garden of testimonies and gathered the fruit of proof, let us ascend to the highest truth. That man is not merely to demonstrate supply now and then, but to live as one who cannot be touched by lack, as one who walks in dominion, as one who knows himself an heir of plenty. For miracles are the beginning, but dominion is the crown. That is where we go next. Now we arrive at the summit of this teaching, the high place where the soul no longer begs for drops but drinks from the fountainhead, where man no longer waits anxiously for demonstrations here and there, but lives in the steady glow of divine order, where abundance is not a surprise but a state of being, and lack is not an enemy to be fought, but a shadow that cannot exist in the light. This is dominion. To live as a spiritual millionaire is not merely to receive a check here, a gift there, an opportunity now and then, but to walk in the consciousness that you are heir to infinite supply, joint heir with Christ, clothed with authority, crowned with dominion, master of appearances and servant only of spirit. Dominion is not pride, it is not arrogance, it is not the swelling of ego. It is the quiet mastery of one who knows he is backed by heaven. The man of dominion does not tremble when bills arrive. He does not faint when storms rise. He does not stagger when appearances mock. He smiles, he rejoices, he declares, and his calm is proof of his kingship. I tell you plainly, poverty is a belief, lack is a suggestion, limitation is a false law. When you walk in dominion, these shadows dissolve, for you no longer measure life by appearances but by divine order. Dominion is the inner poise that comes when you know you are heir. It is the steadiness that holds when others panic. It is the rhythm that carries you forward when others falter. I often speak of Omaha, the racehorse, who stumbled at the start and seemed always behind, but once he found his stride, nothing could stop him. He would surge forward, powerful and unstoppable, until he crossed the line first. So it is with man. Once he finds his faith stride, once he catches the rhythm of dominion, nothing can hinder him. He may start slow, he may stumble, he may fall behind, but when he finds his stride of certainty, of poise, of authority, all the appearances of lack and delay fall away, and he crosses into victory, the power of the spoken word full. What does it mean to live as a spiritual millionaire? It means to see supply everywhere. It means to know that opportunities are chasing you instead of you chasing them. It means to wake each morning with gratitude, to walk each day with poise, to lay down each night in peace. It means to know that every need is already met before you ask, that every bill is already paid before it arrives, that every door is already open before you knock. It means to carry yourself with calm dignity, not flaunting wealth, not grasping for more, but radiating sufficiency, radiating joy, radiating confidence. Money becomes a servant, not a master. Opportunities become playthings, not burdens. Supply becomes atmosphere, not occasional miracle. How do you step into this dominion? First, by refusing to be moved by appearances. Appearances are shadows, illusions, echoes of old words. The man of dominion knows this and laughs at them. When appearances say there is no money, he declares, my supply is endless. When appearances say you are sick, he declares, I am filled with life. When appearances say doors are closed, he declares, infinite spirit opens the way. He is not deceived by shadows, for he knows the substance, and substance always trumps shadow. Second, by holding poise. Poise is proof of power. When you panic, you confess defeat. When you rejoice, you declare victory. Poise is faith embodied, and faith embodied draws supply. Third, by affirming daily your kingship. Say aloud, I walk in dominion. I am calm, poised, fearless, and free. I am heir to plenty. I am a spiritual millionaire. Say it until you feel it, until you act it, until you live it. Do not misunderstand me. Dominion does not mean you will never face tests, but it does mean you will never again be shaken by them. The storm may rise, but you will speak, peace, be still, and the storm will obey. The bill may arrive, but you will declare, paid in full, under grace, and the supply will answer. The appearance of lack may loom, but you will laugh and say, this too shall pass, for my source is God, and he cannot fail. Dominion is not the absence of appearances, it is mastery over them. So I ask you, are you ready to step into this kingship? Are you ready to stop living from miracle to miracle and start living in the stream of continual supply? Are you ready to exchange anxiety for poise, begging for commanding, hoping for knowing? If so, affirm it now with me. I walk in dominion. I am calm. I am fearless. I am supplied. I am heir of plenty, and lack cannot touch me. Speak it until your chest lifts, until your eyes shine, until your very walk changes. For when dominion is established within, life bows without. And once you taste this poise, once you know this rhythm, you will never again accept poverty as natural or lack as normal. You will know that the continuous flow is yours, that abundance is your atmosphere, that prosperity is your climate. And so now, let us step into that final truth. How to live not in occasional supply, but in the continuous overflow, where good rushes in without interruption, where blessing comes so steadily that you cease to count, and you become a fountain of abundance, blessing all who touch your life. That is our final ascent. Now we stand at the highest crest of this teaching, for it is one thing to call forth a single demonstration and rejoice when it arrives, and it is another thing altogether to step into the stream where supply flows without pause, where blessings arrive so continually that you cease to wonder whether they will come and begin instead to wonder at the endless variety of ways in which they appear. This is the continuous flow of supply. the condition of living as a spiritual millionaire, the climate of abundance where your good is not an occasional guest but a permanent resident, not a trickle of relief but a river of plenty. The world believes in ups and downs, feast and famine, good times and bad, but those who walk in dominion know no such cycles. For once the channel is open, once the heart is cleared, once the word is established and the act is aligned, the flow does not stop. It is not a seasonal river, it is a spring that never runs dry. My cup runneth over, said the psalmist, not once, not sometimes, but always. And that is the life to which you are called. A cup that runs over, a table always spread, a barn always full, a purse always replenished. How is this continual flow maintained? By rhythm, by gratitude, by remembrance, by expectancy. First, rhythm. Just as the heart beats and the lungs breathe without pause, so must your decrees be steady, daily, rhythmic. The spoken word is not a rope to be pulled in emergencies, it is the breath of life itself. Each morning, declare, my supply is endless, immediate, inexhaustible, and comes to me under grace in perfect ways. Each night, declare it again, sealing your subconscious with the sound of plenty. Let it become your song, your refrain, your atmosphere. Do not wait for lack to speak abundance. Speak abundance always, and lack will never dare approach. Second, gratitude. Gratitude is the oil that keeps the lamp burning, the current that keeps the river flowing, the magnet that draws more and more. Every time you give thanks for what you have, you enlarge the channel. Every time you rejoice over a demonstration, no matter how small, you invite a greater one. Gratitude is faith in bloom, and faith in bloom always bears fruit. The ungrateful man dries up his own river, for he looks only at what is missing, and so he multiplies lack. The grateful man overflows, for he looks only at what is given, and so he multiplies plenty. Third, remembrance. Keep a record of your demonstrations. Write them down, rehearse them, tell them, sing them. When doubt whispers, this time is different, open your record and answer, no, for the law has never failed me, and it will not fail me now. A coin found on the street, a gift received in the mail, a debt suddenly dissolved. These are not small things, they are proofs. Each is a stone in the altar of remembrance. Each is a testimony that strengthens faith for the next. Fourth, expectancy. Live as though supply is already on its way, for at Island expect gifts, expect opportunities, expect surprises. Expectancy is the open hand that receives. The man who expects nothing, prepares for nothing, and receives nothing. The man who expects plenty, prepares for plenty, and receives plenty. You cannot out-expect God, for his storehouse is infinite. The more you prepare, the more you receive. I recall a student who practiced these things daily. He affirmed each morning, he rejoiced in every gift, he recorded each demonstration, he expected daily miracles. At first the demonstrations were small, an invitation, a coin, a little help. But soon they grew checks in the mail, debts dissolved, opportunities multiplied. He lived in such a state of expectancy that he was never surprised by abundance, only delighted by its form. He lived in the continuous flow, and his life became a fountain blessing others the power of the spoken word flow. And this is the final truth. Once you step into the flow, your abundance blesses not only you but all who come near. You become an overflowing spring. Your prosperity waters dry ground around you. Your joy strengthens others. Your gifts inspire faith in those who watch. You are no longer a beggar seeking blessing, you are a blessing, pouring out as much as you receive, for the law of circulation demands it. What goes out comes in, pressed down, shaken together, running over. And so the flow continues, unbroken, unstoppable, eternal. So let us affirm together now, with rhythm and conviction. My good flows to me continuously, in avalanches of abundance, under grace, in perfect ways. My cup runneth over at all times. I live in the overflow. I bless and I am blessed. I give and I receive. I am a fountain of plenty. Speak it until you feel the river rushing, until you laugh at the very thought of lack, until you know that to live in the continuous flow is your divine right. And now, having walked through every stage, blessing the little, defeating the enemies, calling forth supply, clearing the channels, proving the law through testimonies, and stepping into dominion, we come to the final word, the closing decree, the last seal upon this message. Stay with me now, For I will gather all into a single affirmation, a final call, and an open door to the next lesson, the secret door to success, where the greatest treasures of your destiny await. Now, beloved, we draw the threads together, for you have walked with me from the trembling place of $8, clutched in fear, to the wide field of dominion where abundance flows like a river without end. You have seen with your own eyes, in story after story, that the law does not falter, that the word does not return void, that every decree uttered with conviction is a seed that must bear fruit. You have heard how fear roars but is powerless before a steadfast word, how doubt whispers but is silenced by rejoicing, how delay mocks but is revealed as timing misunderstood. For infinite spirit is never late, never absent, never unwilling. You have learned that God is your source, that channels are many, but the fountain is one, that your spoken word is the wand of command, that faith must be acted out in bold gestures, that resentment must be dissolved, envy released, forgiveness given, so the channels may run clear. You have walked among testimonies of loaves multiplied, of coins turned to checks, of debts dissolved, of right work appearing, of voyages financed, of fog lifted by decree, and each testimony was not only a story but a mirror, showing you what the law will do in your own life. And then, higher still, you have been seated in dominion, where lack is no longer possible, where appearances are shadows to be laughed at, where abundance is climate, atmosphere, rhythm. You have stepped into the continuous flow, where supply is not a surprise but a constant, where your cup runs over and the overflow blesses others, where you become a fountain, not a beggar. Now hear me as I speak the final word. These teachings are not ornaments for the shelf, not phrases to recite once and forget, but living tools, weapons, and instruments to be used daily, hourly, rhythmically. The law is always working, shaping your life even now. The only question is, are you letting it work by default, growing weeds of fear and doubt, or are you wielding it with command, planting roses of faith and blessing? You cannot escape the law, you can only choose how you use it. Speak blessing, and increase is inevitable. Speak cursing, and diminishment is certain. There is no neutral ground. Every word is seed. Every act is water, every thought is root. Choose wisely, for harvest is as sure as sunrise. So let us decree together in one voice, as a seal upon this message. My supply is endless, immediate, inexhaustible, and comes to me under grace in perfect ways. Every bill is paid, every need is met, every desire is fulfilled. I walk in dominion, I live in abundance, I overflow with blessings. What God has done for others, He now does for me, and more. I rejoice, I give thanks, I know it is done. Say it until your voice shakes the atmosphere. Say it until your heart leaps. Say it until your mind is aflame with certainty. For in that moment, you are not repeating words, you are issuing law, you are commanding your world, you are writing your future. And now, before I close, let me open the next door. For supply is only one gate, the beginning, the kindergarten of divine law. Beyond supply lies destiny, perfect self-expression, the fulfillment of your purpose, the revelation of your highest good. There is a secret passage, hidden from many, but open to those who dare to walk in faith. I call it the secret door to success. Through it you will find not only money but right work, not only health but right joy, not only relationships but right destiny. It is the passage through which your greatest treasures enter. And in my next lesson, I will show you how to find it, how to walk through it, how to live in the highest order of law. So click now, step forward, walk with me through that door. For you are no longer a beggar but an heir, no longer a seeker but a finder, no longer a victim of appearances but a master of law. Bless what you hold, speak your word, act in faith, clear your heart, rejoice in testimonies, walk in dominion, and live in the overflow. And let this final decree echo in your being. I am rich in every way, I am free in every way, I am abundant in every way. My life runs over with good, under grace, in perfect ways.